Hello, Bizarros, and welcome to this episode of Bizarre States that I've called It's Raining Cats and Frogs.
Whoa.
Yes, it's kind of a theme that is actually somewhat rolling over from last week where we discussed, what did I discuss?
Rain?
No,
Cats?
Animals.
Frogs? I don't know what we discussed
talking about last week, Stovetop?
As soon...
Do you remember?
Silence. Absolute silence.
Yeah, it had
as soon as an episode ends, it leaves my brain.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Wait, what did you say?
What? I said I don't remember what we talked about last week. What did we cover last week on this podcast? Do you remember, Josh?
Yeah, I remember.
What?
What?
He doesn't
he
remember
doesn't know.
either. He blanks.
That turn yourself into a metal statue thing.
Turn yourself into a metal statue thing, right? Shark.
Yeah, maybe it was the shark thing.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, animals. Here's
That's
the deal.
enough connective tissue.
Yes, well, it kind of became, I guess, a small theme.
Okay.
Like, I hate to keep assigning themes to this because it does seem like we start to find one story and then they pile on each other and we keep seeing additional stories that are similar, guessing that that's probably some sort of weird social media algorithm that is striking hard. But we did have a couple of, we do have one Weird of the Week story that inspired me to have a main story be about when animals fall from the sky.
Okay.
And other weird rain, and where did that all come from and what scientists suspect it is. So I just thought it would be kind of like a cool little, like Sharknado is technically could be a thing.
Yeah, we can only hope.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Could be potentially. I mean, a shark, well, I'm getting ahead of myself.
I'll be interested to find out if
yeah.
there's ever been anything that large.
Yes, which is in Weird of the Week, and then thus transitioning into our main story.
Yeah.
So
like
yes,
the Cows and Twister.
This is Bizarre States. It's raining cats and frogs. So here's Weird of the Week. This actually comes to us from sci-fi_barfly on Twitter, who gave us the heads up that this is not, well, I guess we're mammals and that's an animal. So this could be still part of the animal podcast theme.
Yeah, technically every story we've ever had on the show was about an animal.
Yeah.
If you want to think of it that way.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, true. Vandals.
Did I just fucking blow your mind?
You did.
We're just all fucking animals, man.
Vandals steal 800-year-old mummy head from an historic church in Ireland. Vandals broke into the Dublin Historic Church, sorry if I pronounced this incorrectly, St. Micans, or possibly Mickens?
I don't know.
Michans, and decapitated and stole the head from an 800-year-old mummy called the Crusader. Discovery of the missing head occurred when the guide that gives tours in the hotel was setting up, or the hotel, hotel for loving God.
True.
Who's to tell you can't spend the night?
That's more of a reach
question mark?
than we're all animals. Sorry, continue.
Well, I suppose if you called for sanctuary, you could stay there,
yeah, that's
right?
true.
You got 36 days before they kick your ass out or you escape or decide to escape.
Valjean style.
Yeah. You know where I learned that from?
Where?
BritBox, when I was watching Antiques Roadshow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's my new thing. I get some wine. I hop on Amazon to buy stuff I don't need, and I watch Antiques Roadshow.
Oof. I got something
The best.
to tell you. I'll tell you later.
Cool. So, sorry. Discovery of the missing head occurred when a guide who takes people on tours of the church was preparing to open the church that day in order to thus continue the tours, but then discovered that this mummy's head was missing, as well as that several other corpses that were also damaged, including the body of a nun dating to about 400 years ago. A quote from the archdeacon said, "These are people who have been lying at rest for years and years, and to have them desecrated in such a sacrilegious way is so distressing and disturbing. I can't put it into words. I'm quite disgusted." And I can't say I disagree.
I know.
I think it's a new level of asshole that goes out of the way to destroy historic things.
It's one thing if, when I saw the headline, it's one thing if it was already, the head was separate from the body.
Yeah, but that they actually ruined.
But that they actually desecrated it and took its head off, that's too much.
Now, what about it is too much for you? Is it that you have a problem with the desecration itself, or is it on a religious situation, on a humanistic? I don't even know if that's a real word. God damn it,
Well, we're
Chobot.
all animals.
In a humanist way, in the sense that this was a person at one time, and you've just
no,
done this, or
and
on
you're
like
like
a
disrespecting its
historic
body
way?
and its memory. No, more in it feels more like vandalization to have like taken it apart and stolen the head, as opposed to like just picking up a head. If the head was in its own little case and they just carried that case out,
It's like more of a prank if you do that.
Yeah, it
versus,
just feels more
or
disrespectful.
Just like a straight steal.
yeah,
Versus like, I'm gonna destroy this thing
right.
because I just want to destroy this thing. Because it also sounds like thus the other mummies were also damaged and things of that nature, that they just didn't
Yeah.
care. They were just going for whatever. There was
Right.
no real reason to any of this.
It's so funny that you bring this story up, because I watched a short film this week about a group of kids that steal Vincent Price's skull from a church. It was
Is it real?
No,
Like a
no,
real-
no. It's
oh.
like a really stylized kind of Wes Anderson horror comedy
Yeah.
that I watched online from a group of filmmakers that call themselves Holomax. But it's just so funny. I literally watched it yesterday, and then
So-
this is about people actually stealing a skull from a
Did they
church.
steal it in the movie because they loved Vincent Price and wanted to honor and have a piece of him, or did they do
Yes.
it just because they wanted to trash the place?
No, in the fictional logic of this short, there was a ritual to be done with Vincent Price's skull that he would have actually preferred happen with him being gone. They wanted to perform some kind of ritual with the skull
Oh.
that had to do with, power and spirits and things like that. So it was kind of in the vein of like a Vincent Price
Yeah.
type of story.
Yeah. That's, yeah.
Not-
Still not great. I'm not saying to go
Sure.
out and steal skulls, but I can get behind that thought process far more than I
know.
can get behind the real life situation that we're reading about here.
Yeah.
Speaking of Vincent Price, I recently went to the Magic Castle to take my kid to see a show,
Oh, wow.
which blew his mind. And he now he's convinced he can do magic and that the magic castle's where all the magic lives.
It's
He
not
was
untrue.
so into it. But aside from that, while I was wandering the halls to go from theater to theater, I don't know if you remember me bringing this up on a previous podcast, but there was a Vincent Price record that he made, I think maybe in the 70s, possibly even earlier. He did a couple of them. I think one is about witchcraft and an education of witchcraft kind of thing, and then another is one about Satanism.
Interesting.
And I have been trying to track these records down to the point where I went into Atomic Records and I was like, listen, I'm going to leave you a note with my name if anybody brings this in to try and dump it, because the guy's like, yeah, we see that come through like once a year. I'm like, let me know, call me up, I'll purchase it.
yeah.
I've been looking for it online. I've been looking for it on like eBay. I've never seen it, or if I have seen
yeah.
it listed, it's already been sold. Like, I can't seem to track it down. Anyway, long story short, they have one up, framed in one of the hallways at the Magic Castle,
Oh,
and I was walking by and I was
whoa.
like, oh God, I've wanted that for so long. It's so funny too when I
And
went
you
to
stole it off the wall, like these
and I
people
stole it off
this
the wall.
mummy head.
Yes. No, I actually, it was just funny because A, the Vincent Price thing reminded me of that, but B, when I went in to ask the Atomic Records guy, like, hey, here's my information and this, that, and the other thing, I was, of course, dressed in all black,
Yeah.
as I want to do. And first thing he says to me is, you don't actually think this is real, right? You're not going to actually really try anything with this, right? I'm like, no, dude, I just like weird shit, and I have a podcast. Can you please just also, who are you to tell me that I can't buy a specific record?
Yeah.
Shut up.
That record looks amazing, by the way. I
Yeah,
just
it
looked it
does.
up.
So if anybody
Vincent
knows-
Price, Witchcraft and Magic, an adventure in demonology.
Yes, if anybody has one, I'm willing to buy it off of you within reason. And if anybody has one and just wants to send it, I'm happy to take it off your hands.
I've always wanted the record of Disney's chilling, thrilling sounds of the haunted house.
I have that.
You have the record or just like the digital?
The record.
Oh, dang.
You want to
Have it? Yes.
talk about this after the podcast?
Sure. Oh, I have the Vincent Price record. That would be great if I
Okay,
could trade.
Yeah, I'll trade. All right, so back to our Weird of the Week, just rounding it off in
Yeah.
regards to this vandal story. There has been no word yet on if the police have any suspects. I'm going to keep an eye on it to see if we find out if anything has occurred.
Yeah.
And if they find anybody and charge them, because I would love that to happen.
Yeah.
And the church has also issued a statement asking for the vandals to bring back the head and have currently closed the church and tours, not only due to the repairs that very obviously need to be made, but also as an extra safety measure because these things aren't normally exposed to the outside air and whatnot. They were behind an iron door, which is astounding that these people were able to break through. They must have really, it's so weird because it's like, they must have meant it. They were able to break through an iron door.
Right.
But also then they treated everything like, it's just so odd. So anyway, they're exposed to the elements and they just want to play it extra safe because that could also potentially damage the mummies even further.
Do you remember the story that we were told while we were at Catalina? I don't know if it made it into the episode because it was a little aside while we were on the boat. But the story about the kids that stole the skull?
The skull and the candles and how they opened up a door or summoned a demon?
They did something. They found a skull in the woods and then they brought it back to the camp. To that,
one of them got possessed,
and
right?
then one of them got possessed, and and I forget who the author was that we were talking with who had written that book, but he had even interviewed one of the kids grown up, and the kid was like, well, the grown man at that point was like, yeah, it all happened. I mean, it was crazy. Maybe something like that will happen to these people, so they'll feel bad for stealing the mummy head.
That would be great if in like 2 weeks or a week we get a news story that's like an update of this one where it's like the vandals have returned the skull because the skull started haunting them.
Exactly.
A la like an Edgar Allan Poe style. That would be, God, that would be fantastic. Well, I would become a 100% true believer then.
Yeah. Karma.
Ghost Island appears off the coast in Finland. I just dig these kind of stories.
Yeah.
A border guard patrolling Lake Inari in the Lapland region of Finland discovered, and I'm putting air quotes around that kind of because it's not really real. I mean, he discovered a not really real thing. Discovered the image of a ghost island early in the morning. The guard was able to actually photograph the scene and post it to their Twitter feed, and it looks super cool. Like, that's a hardcore ghost island.
Yeah.
So, ghost islands are actually not ghost islands. They're optical illusions that form when conditions in the surrounding area cause reflections of real land masses to either appear over the water or sometimes the sky, and or it just distorts the landmass enough that it looks odd and like you're looking at an island. But I just think that's fantastic. I just think that's super cool. This is also known sometimes as I might potentially botch this.
Okay.
Fata Morgana.
Okay.
Or Fata Morgana. I don't know where the emphasis is on the syllables.
Uh-huh.
So yeah. Another example of something like this would be the 2015 and 2017's report of a skyscraper optical illusion happening over a city in China, which I think we might have talked about on one of our bizarre states as a Weird of the Week. But this was actually later proved to be a hoax because nobody was really able to track it down. So Snopes.com is saying that optical illusion was in and of itself a hoax.
Gotcha.
So not only is the ghost island a natural hoax, but then you're doubling down on hoaxing because people are saying it happened and they didn't actually even see it. So yeah, but that's kind of what this thing is where it's like, you know, it's like a rainbow. Instead of a rainbow in the sky, you're getting a full city.
Right.
Or a full island. I think it's just super cool.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was neat. So obviously these types of optical illusions lead some to believe that they may be the origin stories of mysterious lands from folk tales throughout various cultures. As in, you know, like fairylands or stuff where you see it show up and then it disappears, and or Cthulhu.
Right. Yeah.
Something like that. That's
some
not
of
a
these
folk
are pretty.
tale, though. That's the truth.
I'm looking up other images of, however you pronounce that.
Fata Morgana. Fata
and
Morgana.
yeah, some of them are pretty crazy. I mean, yeah, they're basically mirages.
Yeah.
And they just it just looks like things are floating.
And I've
it's
always
crazy.
thought too, like it would be really neat if, you know, the fairyland kind of stuff, that seems to lend credence to the idea of this. But I also like the thought process of like people thinking that the gods live on Mount Olympus or something like that. Like there's like, you know, or what's that one famous city that if you find it, you can live forever? In the mountains, in the Andes Mountains.
I don't know.
Huh? I thought Stovetop was giving me an answer. But again, he has no answers.
Stovetop, do you even know what we're talking about?
No.
I'm trying to look up city that you can find and then live forever, and it's not real, and I don't know.
Just do mythological city mountain. Huh? Waititi? I can't hear him.
Hi, Titi?
Taika Waititi? No.
Yeah.
That's a director.
Stovetop just said Taika Waititi, and I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. Patagonia?
No.
Man, I got a list of mythological places on Wikipedia. It's 90.
I'm pretty sure I played it in a Tomb Raider or Uncharted game, and I can't think of the name. Oh well, we'll come back to it later.
Feather Mountain, Olympus.
No, Olympus is where the gods live. Wow, you're botching this hard.
I'm literally just reading all of them.
As well as me, because I'm the one that brought it
Shangri-La.
up. Shangri-La! That's the one I wanted. Thank you.
Right after you said I botched it.
That's the one I wanted. Shangri-La.
Perfect.
Okay, so leaving Ghost Island and shifting gears into the weird animal falling from the sky shit. A dead humpback whale has been found in the Amazonian jungle, and no one knows how it got there. Somebody else forwarded this to us. I'm sorry I can't give you a shout out because I forgot to type it into my notes, but thank you for this because I was like, what the hell? So a dead humpback whale calf, about a year old, had been found in the Marajo Island jungle about 50 feet from the coast and has scientists completely stumped as to how it got there, although, of course, they're scientists, so they have hypotheses. A crowd of vultures feeding off of the carcass is what actually alerted scientists and whatnot. It has been photographed and examined by the nonprofit group, again, sorry for pronunciation, Bicho de Agua Institute, and the area's Municipal Secretariat of Health, Sanitation, and Environment. Scientists speculate that the calf became lost or separated from its mother, ended up swimming too close to the shore, and then the tide, which had been significant during those days around the island, picked it up and threw it far upon the shore.
Yikes.
They've taken samples from the whale and are planning a full autopsy, which should take about 10 days. But the carcass is too heavy to move, so they will let it eventually rot there and then transfer the bones to a local natural history museum at a later date. This is not, however, the first time that whales have ended up randomly in the jungle.
Ashore.
On November 2007, a minke, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, M-I-N-K-E, a minke whale stranded itself on an Amazon sandbank about 1,000 miles inland of the Atlantic Ocean. Rescuers were able to free it, only to then find it dead a few days later, which is a bummer. So yeah, thus Sharknado could be a thing. And I do have a later story when we get into our main story about Sharknado.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All I've ever wanted is to believe that Sharknado could actually happen.
It could. I mean, I suppose it could. I mean, I don't think you're going to get some crazy great white.
Yeah.
But you definitely, based off of what my findings here on the internet, which are, totally legit. It has happened. Yeah. It has happened. So let's get into this. Main story, it's raining cats and frogs. So the story of the humpback whale, I just blew my mind. And seeing the pictures made it even more like, whoa. So that, and I had heard about the thing where, tornadoes lift up frogs and dump them somewhere else, or you'd get, I think, in 2017, if not even earlier than that, maybe even 16. I'm so bad with the years. There was that huge mass deaths of birds that were happening that everybody's like, it's the end of days, which yes, it is. But also they found out that it was more likely because they were flying into a thunderstorm and they all got electrocuted and dropped out of the sky.
Right.
And I had just had a conversation with Blair the other day while we were walking the dog where I was like, do you think birds die by just flying until they drop out of the sky? Or do they know that they're going to die so they find a branch and chill and die there or in their nest? Or if they don't know they're going to die, is it like birds get heart attacks because they have a heart? What if their heart just decides to get tired and stops, and then do they die?
Right.
Well, I mean, they would die if they have a heart attack potentially, but do they just drop out of the air?
Right.
Or do they try to prep for it?
Yeah.
I've never known that.
I don't know. I'm not a birdologist.
It also
But birds do have
yeah.
heart attacks really easily, right? They get freaked out.
Scared?
Yeah.
Yeah, my dog, this is a horrible story, and I actually couldn't look at the dog in the face for a good week afterwards.
Jeez.
But I had a dog who, way back when I was still living with my parents had a pond in the backyard, and geese would always use it as geese and duck would always use it as a stopover.
Yeah.
And just use it in general. And there was this group of geese that would always come and eat. My mom had a vegetable garden there that would come and eat some of her vegetables, and the dog chased one day and scared this goose so badly that it tried to run away, but it tripped and broke its neck.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I didn't know
crazy.
that geese could trip.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have arms, so it can't stop itself from falling.
Yeah.
So I guess that, yeah, it could break its neck. And I mean, I felt really bad for the goose because I was like, oh, that's not fair.
Yeah.
But, I guess it's not like I chased it down, the dog did. So I guess it's kind of like, what do you call it, survivalist,
right.
fittest thing that I'm trying to express right now.
Yeah, Darwinism.
Yeah, that too.
Um,
Yeah, I'm a good example of that.
Yeah.
With my speech
Yeah.
right now.
I guess I don't think about that. I'm sure a lot of
I always
animals
think
die
about
from
weird
like
animal
accidents
shit.
like that.
Well, so I always think about weird animal shit, like squirrels. You would think that they would innately know when to jump and not to jump over certain
Right.
areas. And I've seen squirrels straight fall out of trees
Yeah.
because they misjudged and calculated where they
Totally.
were. You know, it's one thing if they're like chewing on a wire or something and get electrocuted because they don't know any better, because that's something they normally wouldn't come across, especially if they're babies. But like standard straight up squirrels jumping from a
Stuff that
branch
should
to
be
another
in
branch.
your
In your DNA.
deep in your instincts. Yeah.
Yeah, and then botching it and then hitting the ground. I'm like,
I know.
how the fuck did you do that?
Totally.
It's really weird.
Yeah, I mean, I see it happen with my cats all the time. Like when we were fostering this last cat, who was such a great cat. It was hard
I
to
saw
give
your
him up.
photos,
Oof,
yeah.
He was amazing, but he didn't understand this. This is something that it makes sense. He couldn't understand this, but when we first set him, we were holding him, and I set him down on our coffee table. But our coffee table is clear glass, and he just thought he was going to be set down on the ground, that he was seeing through the coffee table. So the way he went into the coffee table was like head first.
Yeah.
He thought he still had like another 2 feet before he
Oh,
had to
it's
get his
so-
arms out. So he was just like, boom,
It's so
and
mean,
it
but
blew his
I
mind.
think that shit's so funny.
I know, it is.
Oh,
and then he would do
God.
the same when he'd be under the coffee table.
try to jump?
He'd try to jump up and it'd just be, boom, and just hear
Yeah.
echo throughout the house.
My cat has never gone face first from top down, but it has always gone face first from bottom up.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
jumping
yeah.
onto the
Yeah.
thing, it just always just clunk.
I love a good cat fail when they are jumping for something and fall like
Yeah.
4 feet short of reaching it.
Yeah, I like
Love
to
it.
watch those. Those are
Love
nice.
it.
Those are nice aperitifs
Yeah.
to the day. All right, so back to raining cats and frogs. So
Sure.
a rain of animals is a strange meteorological occurrence in which apparently flightless animals fall from the sky. So I don't know why they're not including birds. Like I get it if like obviously if a bird falls from the sky, it's just a bird falling from the sky. But if like
Yeah.
you've got more than 10, I feel like that should justify
Right.
being a raining down. This has happened across multiple countries throughout history. One theory is that it occurs due to a tornadic waterspout, a la Sharknado, that forms over a body of water, picking up the animals that live there and then traveling and dumping them in different locations. However, this has never been witnessed or proven by scientists, nor does it explain why each separate incident seems to only involve a specific species and not a wider variety of species that are
Right.
roughly the same size and or weight as the other species that's been
Right.
sucked
Wouldn't
up.
it just be this like
Like,
kind
why
of
50,000
collective of-
frogs?
Yeah.
Why not frogs and some
Anytime I've-
ducks
Exactly.
and like a cat or two for good measure?
Oh yeah.
Like
it
why
would just
are we
be a
being so
hodgepodge.
Yeah, it should be a hodgepodge.
Yeah,
there
it
should
would
all
be.
the shit that's living in the area that could get lifted should be lifted. Why is it only
Yeah.
frogs or only snakes or whatever?
Right.
I mean, I guess once in a while it makes sense because, you know, migratory patterns happen with most creatures. So
Right.
if you just, you know, it's like lightning striking twice
Mm-hmm.
in the same spot. Oh, I have a good dad joke for that, by the way.
Oh, about lightning
Yeah, did I
striking
hear that
twice?
from you, Stovetop?
I'm gonna guess.
Yeah,
yes.
it is. It is. I'm pretty sure it was Stovetop where he said, you know why lightning never strikes twice?
Why?
It's because it strikes once and then that shit got decimated, so it can't possibly strike the same place twice because it's gone.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know if I understand the dad
What do you
joke.
mean what you don't understand
Say it again. Why can't lightning strike twice?
Lightning can't strike the same place twice because once it strikes the first time, that place no longer exists. It's been struck by lightning.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. It's not landing for me. It's not landing. Is she phrasing it right, Stovetop? Huh. Okay.
I laughed.
Right. Hey.
Yeah.
Eh.
You shouldn't be judging.
I'm not. I'm
Just
not.
kidding.
My lack of reaction is not judgment.
All right, so needless to say, the point is that it should be a cornucopia of these animals, and instead it only seems to be like one specific species.
Hey, did you hear about that fat rat?
Yes, I love Fat Rat. I love that a little girl was like, "You gotta save that rat."
Totally.
And I love that they did, and I love even more the photo that they used for all the thumbnails where
Yeah.
the rat's like, "Help! I'm so
I know.
chunk." You're
Totally.
like-
They couldn't have. I mean, it felt like he was a cartoon rat posing for that social
Like
media
it was
post.
like the
He
next
was just
Pixar poster for their upcoming movie.
I know.
Like-
Ratatouille.
Yeah, Ratatouille. That
but-
one's funny.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was so glad that he was rescued.
Me too.
And I was glad. I always like it when like 9 humans have to come together to rescue this dumb fat little rodent. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
though.
and I
felt so
also
bad
feel
for him.
like rats and mice get the short end of the stick when it comes to stuff
For
like
sure.
that. Like, listen, I know they spread plague, and that's unfortunate, but they deserve a place to live too.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, it's like they're just trying to. That's why people are like, I fucking hate pigeons. I'm like, what kind of asshole hates pigeons? They're
Right.
they're living in the city. They're doing it how they can do it. They're trying to, do the best they can. Half of
Yeah.
them don't even have 2 feet anymore because they get
And-
electrocuted right off when they're on electrical wires.
If you
Like, cut 'em
told
some
people,
slack.
for sure, I agree. And if you told people, all of a sudden, pigeons are an endangered species, they would be like, "Oh, pigeons are so beautiful. They're
Oh,
so
yeah,
beautiful." But I think when something becomes so repeated and innumerable,
Yeah.
they're not as respected, like rats and mice and all of that,
Yeah.
and pigeons.
Mice
Pigeons
and
just
rats
look
are
like,
super cute. Rats are incredibly smart.
yeah,
Like, look. I mean, smart enough to realize that its shit was gonna die if it stayed in that
Yeah,
hole
totally.
anymore.
he was smart enough to text someone in that moment
Yeah.
of need.
Yeah.
I always wanted a pet rat, and I wanted him to be hairless, and I wanted to name him Fat Rat, the hot and slick. That's what I wanted.
What the fuck?
And I just always, it was like a joke I made as a kid at some point, but it's always remained a true hope that I could have
Yeah.
a pet rat, and I'm going to name him Fat Rat, the hot and slick. He would have a subtitle. That's how big of a deal he was going to be.
That's cool.
And I've never had a pet rat.
Yeah. I have not had a pet rat. I've had hamsters and stuff as pets when I was little.
Was that ultimately, this is a tangent, but was that ultimately, I feel like you're setting a child up for disappointment with those little critters, because don't they just expire within like a very short amount of time, and then you've got the
No.
death of a hamster,
I mean, yes.
the flushing of a hamster, or the burying of a hamster on your hands?
Yes-ish. Not. I think it depends on how. I think
Well
it's
they're cared for.
how well they're cared for. It's kind of a crapshoot because you don't know how old they are automatically by the time you buy them.
Yeah.
And they are social creatures, so who's to say that the animal that you're keeping, like, I think it's just everybody's default to assume that they're just dumb animals, and so you can just keep
Right.
them locked in this cage and that's fine, but that, who really knows? Maybe
Yeah.
you just separated a mom from her little ones,
Totally.
and she's having a complete breakdown because you've got her in this glass cage.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just saying. Just these are the things to think through.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up, I don't know if I should tell this story.
Uh-oh.
Nah, we'll skip it.
Yikes.
I didn't
if you
do
thought
any.
that long about it and you bailed, then yeah.
No, I didn't do
Probably.
anything. Yeah, I didn't do anything bad to my pet at all.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know if we need it out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gave away my gecko to a science center, and she had a much better life at the science center.
Oh, did she?
I had her forever, and her name was Camilla, and she was a leopard gecko. And I wasn't the best at feeding her and keeping. I mean, I did. I cared for her. But then the second she went to this science center, like a month later, I visited her, and she was thriving. Like her colors were brighter. She was like thicker and healthier.
Yeah.
And was loving it.
Yeah, because you were awful.
Because I was probably being a shitty parent.
Yeah, you're a shitty parent. Anyway, other explanations and theories in regards to why these certain species and or animals in general just seem to rain from the sky are a French physicist, André Marie Ampère, from 1775 to 1836, was one of the first scientists to really look at this as like an actual thing. Like rumors had been flying around that, you know, hey man, over there in Sicily, a bunch of fish just dropped out of the sky. But nobody really took it seriously except for this guy in the beginning, who suggested that toads and frogs that wander the countryside might be blown about by strong winds, which is not really, I guess, the case, but I could see where that is a decent theory to have back in 1775. The next guy is French naturalist Francis de la Porte de Castelnau. Gosh, that's bad. Suggested that a school of walking catfish hit Singapore back in 1861 in an attempt to drag themselves from puddle to puddle to chase the rain. Gotta say, I go with the first guy's theory more. Yeah.
Although I think I've talked about this on the podcast before. You know, walking fish. Mud skippers. What I would be referencing would be the snakehead fish. My town, while I was living in Crofton, Maryland, was home to a crazy epidemic of these fish that weren't supposed to be in this area, in this region in North America. Someone had put them there, and then it like fucked with the ecosystem of this tiny pond in Crofton, and it created like these.
It was the zebra mussels of Crofton.
Yeah, and there were like snakehead fish everywhere, and they walk.
Oh, that's fucked.
Yeah, and actually, to bring it back to Sharknado, they made a sci-fi original about the snakehead fish, and I think they called it like Frankenfish or something. But they kind of look like mud skippers, and they're not indigenous to any area near Maryland. But it was a whole thing, and like the Daily Show came to Crofton to interview people. And the weird thing is, though, Crofton is a suburb very near Baltimore and D.C., but the Daily Show framed it as like, you know, like
backwoods, kind of turned around.
Right. And I don't know where they found the people they interviewed, because it's very much not that type of town. But then on the Daily Show, there were people who were like, well, I saw that fish. He walked. Well, where the fuck is that guy?
Come on, man. You know how production works.
I know.
They had a PA sit there about a week earlier hunting around for somebody that he could buy a beer and get on camera.
True.
We know how this goes.
Yeah.
You can't lie to us. You know why? Because we've done it.
Yeah.
I just also find it very funny that both these dudes are French. I don't know why. That just kind of tickles my funny bone. Not to go off course again, but in regards to crazy animals and seeing things that you hear about, but you kind of roll your eyes and like, whatever, it's not that impressive. Like, these people are kind of like blowing up the story or making it more than it is. When we were on our way for season 1 of Bizarre States, and we went to Catalina, and we saw the flying fish, I about lost my mind.
Yeah.
Because there's fish that fucking fly. I mean, they straight fly. And for a while, it's not like a little glide where you're like, okay, it's a flying fish, but really it's just like a tiny little glider.
Yeah.
Like, this thing, like,
I know,
flew.
normally it's a letdown. You're like, oh, they're like exaggerating by calling this thing a fucking flying fish. Not the case.
Not the case at all.
I was like, well, it just turned into a bird. It anamorphed in front of us.
Yeah, that fucking fish just turned into a bird and then turned back into a fish. Holy shit.
Yeah. But that's how, I mean, I won't project and say that you're dumb. I was about to say that's how dumb we are. But I'll change that to that's how dumb I am, because just the other day I was hiking and I saw this bird, some kind of hawk or something, and it was just levitating. You know, it was doing that thing where it wasn't flying forward it was just fucking floating.
It must have found a little gust.
Yeah, it found a little gust, and I was just staring at it, and it was breaking my mind. I was like, you can just do that, dude? You can just fucking float?
Man.
And it just was floating for minutes.
Yeah.
I stood there until it moved again. I'm like, I am impressed, motherfucker. And it kind of felt like he was just doing it to impress. Off. Yeah. And then he finally saw something and was like, pew, and went for whatever little fat rat he found stuck in a gutter. But
Did I tell you I'm trying to make friends with the crows in my neighborhood?
no, but
Yeah,
good luck.
I'm straight trying my hardest every time. So I've always wanted to have a crow as a friend ever since I saw that meme going around of the goth chick riding on the subway with her pet crow on her shoulder. I was like, fuck,
I
that's
gotta
tight.
look that up. I don't know
It's
if I've
fucking
seen that.
tight. I'm like, oh, she's everything I've ever wanted to be. And so because of that, I've now been nice to the crows in the neighborhood because that in researching crows, I discovered that they're actually super smart and they can tell the difference between somebody that treats them well and somebody that's not nice to them. And if you're not nice to them, they also tell all their buddies that you're the dickhead in the neighborhood.
Right,
And they'll
they
either
talk.
leave you alone or they'll fuck with you. So I'm like, cool, I got this. And then a story came out sent to us by another listener on our Twitter page about this little girl who's made friends with the crows in her neighborhood because she started feeding them and they like her so much they bring her toys. They bring her gifts and
Whoa.
shit. Like anything shiny and small that they can carry, they'll come and they'll
She's
drop
living
off
her
in
best
She's
life.
living the best fucking life. So I'm determined to do this now. And so anytime I go walking in the neighborhood, there's a specific route I take that takes me by this dumpster of this house where the guy is cleaning out or like rebuilding the home. And the crows are always in the dumpster pecking at little shit. And I always am like, hi, Mr. Crow. Hi, Mr. Crow. Hi,
Do you
hi.
feed them anything?
No, but I'm gonna start bringing food with me.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm just like chilling and saying hi and being like, hi, you know, I'm cool. I don't know, don't worry about it. And he actually didn't fly away this time. Like most of the times he'd fly away. This time he just chilled and stared at me and then kind of jumped on the branch. And so then I kept walking and I walked under this tree and then he jumped to a branch that was right above me. And I'm like, oh man, he's gonna shit on my head.
Yeah.
He's pissed, he's gonna shit. But he didn't. Which means
Yeah.
we're one step further along for me having a crow friend. I'm gonna waltz into this office in about a month
With a crow
with
on
a
your
fucking
shoulder.
crow on my shoulder.
We're all gonna think it's a prop, and then we realize
yeah,
it's
and then it's gonna
alive.
peck your fucking eyes out, and I'm gonna be stoked.
You heard it
Anyway,
here first.
yes, you did. Aside from those other explanations and theories, although most people lean into the water spout situation.
Sure.
Occasionally, animals actually survive these falls. Oftentimes, they don't. Usually, it's such a mass drop-dead situation, but sometimes the animals survive. Others that are dead are sometimes just dead bodies. Sometimes they're dead bodies encased in ice, meaning they must have been swept up to the very top of the atmosphere, frozen to death, and then dropped. And then still others are not intact at all, and actually it's just a rain of little animal body parts. In regards to rains of birds, which I don't know how this falls into the mix, but no pun intended on falls. It's been suggested that this is due to flocks being taken over during a storm, especially during migratory season.
Yeah.
And they actually gave a radar image, I think on Wikipedia, where you could see this bat migration group getting sucked into a big thunderstorm,
Oh
and then
my
they get kind of
gosh.
dispersed elsewhere. It's raining cats and dogs, also part of the idiom that we used for the title of this podcast,
Sure.
is not believed to be part of the raining animals phenomenon. It's actually,
But then what is it?
It's actually believed to be part of, well, they don't know for sure, but some theories, one of the ones that I thought was cool was that back in the day when everybody kind of relied on water, aqueducts for water, that occasionally they would clean it out in order to get the water flowing smoothly again. And when they would unlock those hatches and clean it out, all the dead animals and things that got
Ooh,
stuck up there
yeesh.
would come out all at once, and thus it was raining cats and dogs.
Yeah.
But that's just one potential idea.
Sure.
Some other things that have rained down from the sky are milky rain,
Ew.
believed to be ash from large forest fires, a la what we've had around here the last couple years, mixed in with water and then dumped via rainfall elsewhere, sometimes just miles and like across the country, like thousands of miles away.
Right.
Which, I think, not to bring this up, but when the nuclear meltdown happened in Japan after the earthquake, a big concern, I remember, whether it was urban myth or actually based in scientific fact or whatever the case may be, but a lot of people here in California along the coastline were talking about how they were concerned that the radiation
Right.
would get sucked up into the upper atmosphere and then get dumped over here.
Well, that is the plot for Return of
next
the
movie?
Living Dead.
Oh, really?
Return of the Living Dead, the way they say the zombie apocalypse is brought about was because of a radioactive leak or explosion that then went, up into the atmosphere, and then it rained, and it rained down this toxic rain, and all the cemeteries, is basically like sprouted zombies.
Interesting. Did you know new studies are coming out that deer are actually carrying a sort of zombie virus that is similar to mad cow disease, and then it's spreading that. So get ready.
Oof.
Get motherfucking ready.
Ready for some zombie deers.
Zombie deers. Red rain.
I've heard of this happening.
Yes, red rain. No one is sure. This actually happened, I believe, in India, and it was so red it actually turned white clothes pink where it landed.
Oh my gosh.
Some suspect that it's blood. Some suspected it was different body parts. Some scientists were theorizing that they had actually managed to find cells within the rain, although that's never been hardcore proven. Other scientists are theorizing that the rain was actually just mixed with meteorite or meteorite dust and or microorganisms that just happened to turn it red. Yellow rain. This is specifically a village in Laos in the 70s. Refugees on the island stand by the fact that the yellow rain came from planes and helicopters. Other experts believe it was a chemical attack, and still others suspect it was a mass defecation flight droppings from migratory bees.
Gosh.
So it's just like you basically were in a
That got a reaction from Stovetop.
a hail of bee shit,
Yeah.
which is amazing to me.
Did I ever
was
tell
like,
you about
what?
the time? I think I've shared this anecdote. But did I ever tell you about the time I thought I'd be all cool and wear a Hawaiian shirt to my like 7th grade field day? You remember field days where it was like the whole day is just activities outside.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Three-legged
We
races.
had those like once a year. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember being really stoked on this Hawaiian shirt I had gotten from a thrift store. And then
What year is this?
Well, let's see, 7th grade. I want to say 94, 95 type of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
9th grade was 96 for me. So, yeah. So, anyway, a bird shit on me right away.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the second I got to the field day. And I was, thinking I was cool, walking around, making people laugh, talking to friends. And then like 5, 6 people in, finally, someone was like, "You've got like bird shit on your shoulder." And I remember going to the bathroom trying to scrub off this bird shit from my cool Hawaiian shirt and feeling like such a piece of shit, no pun intended.
Yeah, that's a shame. It's supposed to be a good luck symbol.
Oh, if a bird shits on you?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's supposed to be extremely good luck.
Interesting. Just
Yeah,
that you're
it
kind of
doesn't-
like anointed.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't feel that way.
No,
but it's
it
supposed
didn't
to
feel that way that
supposed
day.
to be that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I've gotten shit on, but mine hit my foot, so I was irritated, but I
Right.
wasn't saddened by it.
I wonder if that's just a different kind of anointing. Like the higher it gets on the body, the more.
Oh, I was gonna think the
Powerful,
higher
yeah.
it gets on the body, the worse off you're.
No
you
way.
are. 'Cause you've gotta-
imagine if it hit right here and it was just like,
Yeah.
like
well,
Ash
your
Wednesday.
head is a lot bigger to hit than my foot,
Yeah, that's true.
so I'm thinking like
Especially my
if you can hit
7th
the
grade
small
body, I was
targets.
like,
Oh man, I burned my 6th grade pictures. I was so awkward.
Yeah.
Like so incredibly awkward
There's,
that I burned them.
this push for kind of reflecting on that time. Like we get further and further in the era where we're going to start making movies about what it was like 5 years ago. This nostalgia thing of like we're
Like
not
Captain Marvel's the 90s throwback
Right,
is
like
vintage already,
everything-
and you're like,
there's-
that's not vintage.
Yeah, there's got to be a nostalgia trigger for everything, and this is no offense to these movies because some of these movies are good movies, but there's like obviously there was Lady Bird, there's mid '90s by Jonah Hill, there's 8th Grade by Bo Burnham, which is a modern day movie, but it's about 8th grade. Then there's this show Pen 15 on Hulu, and I've been thinking about it lately. I think that era for me was too damaging for me to ever mine for like creative exploration. I was sitting and watching one of these shows and I was like, y'all are good to go back and think about this shit. I still could not think about that shit.
The only way to because I am in the same boat with you, and the only way that I can justify that is it was so bad that I am going to use it for monetary gain because fuck that time in my
Grist
life.
for the mill. Yeah.
I'm just, you know what? I'm going to teach you how bad it can really get memories
Right.
by mining you for money.
maybe
And that's my revenge.
I'll get there eventually where I'm like, I'm going to make something about when I was in the 8th grade. But right now, thinking about that gives me a fucking panic attack.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oof.
yeah. Can't say I'm a fan either.
No.
All right, so moving on to raw meat.
Perfect.
Some pieces of poultry fell from the sky onto Virginia in 2012, hitting somebody actually in the head while they were on a horseback riding lesson. It has since been dubbed, which I don't get because this was in Virginia, the Kentucky meat shower. Unless maybe the meat came, they figured out that the meat came from Kentucky.
On Urban Dictionary, Kentucky meat shower is something very different.
Yeah, yes. Sharks. Here we go, Sharknado.
Yeah.
In 2012, a shark fell onto a golf course here in Southern California. It was found quickly and transferred back to the ocean where it managed to survive. Witnesses say they saw that the shark had puncture wounds, and so they believe that a bird had basically hunted it,
Picked it
and
up
either the shark managed to wiggle free, which, fuck, that bird means business.
Yeah, dude.
Picked up a
There's-
motherfucking shark, and or the bird just was like, this shit's heavy. I overestimated my
Right.
abilities, and I'm going to drop it right here.
What's the, it's like when I say, like, I can carry all the groceries in one trip.
Oh,
and then
yeah,
I'm like,
I do
fuck
that
this,
too.
there's groceries on my steps. There's like a famous...
I never back down. I don't
Oh,
care. I
really?
don't care if those plastic bags are cutting my arms
Yeah.
off. I'm like, fuck no.
One
I'm
trip.
carrying this in.
One
this is
trip.
one motherfucking trip. And I do the keys and everything.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
If I
I'm a
do that, then I'm dropping a
beast.
cell phone or... what's that famous GIF or sequence of photographs that I think we talked about on this show of a hawk and a fox? And like the fox doesn't give up though, and the fox like gets out of his grip.
Well,
Something.
there was the I thought it was a nature show for a while, like a series
no.
of shows, and it was like a little gecko that was put on a beach with a bunch of snakes, Snake Island, and it
Oh,
was running
that,
around
I
trying to
know.
jump and avoid the snakes that were coming to eat it, which was all of them, and managed to survive.
Yeah.
And then but I don't know of the, I just think it's like angry animal versus angry animal, what wins?
I think this is what I was thinking of. It's a fox who has a rabbit, and then the eagle tries to steal the rabbit from the fox. And the fox is like, yeah, sorry, I'm watching it, and it's really entertaining for me. The fox
Great.
doesn't let go, so then it's eagle flying with rabbit, fox hanging on to rabbit, and then eventually the fox gets loose with the rabbit, so he didn't
Dang.
give up. I would have fucking let go, but the video of this little
I
fox
don't know, man.
getting
You gotta
taken in the air-
survive.
I know.
You gotta survive that. All right, well, that's it. Other stuff that has fallen from the sky are worms, golf balls, a substantial amount of money from somebody in Germany that then went and returned it to police. So that's very sweet. And spiders, fuck no.
Honestly,
no.
out of all of this,
spiders are the worst.
bird shit rain, red rain that you'd think was blood, frogs, cats, dogs, sharks, all of that before raining spiders.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
That's...
The closest I've
Can you
ever
imagine
gotten.
getting it down the back of your shirt?
Fuck
Like,
no.
"Ah."
The closest I've ever gotten to something like that was I saw a bunch of baby spiders do their whole Charlotte's Web shit where they put their butts in the air with their little string
Yeah.
and got carried away by the wind to go land and terrorize somebody else.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck.
Baby spiders look like nanotechnology
Yeah, they
at
do.
work.
They
When
do.
I didn't know what this sack was up in a tree in my backyard as a kid.
This is
and
going to end poorly.
It ended horribly. We were throwing baseballs or wiffle balls or
God.
something at this sack. And yeah, sure enough, dude, this thing fucking splits open. And like my eyes couldn't even comprehend the amount of movement from this thing. It was just like... And I scared the shit out of us.
As you should be.
I know. We were like, what?
Don't
What?
ever do that
What?
again.
And then we just ran. And then just seeing them, it felt like they were on you, even though we were pretty, they were like up in the tree. But just seeing them, I was like, oh God. And then we ran into the house.
That is
terrifying.
That is fucking atrocious.
Yeah.
No.
But even
no.
baby crabs, sorry.
Oh, I like baby crabs.
Not to throw them under the bus, but yeah, but when they're, have you seen that GIF or whatever of a crab,
the
all of its
mom
little babies?
eating its babies.
Oh, I didn't see it eat it. I just saw like this
Yeah.
fucking cloud of baby crabs.
No, the write-up on that, I guess, video or thumbnail
Maybe.
or whatever was like literally the one that I saw at least said, "Watch this mom chow down on her baby."
Jesus. Why?
And
Is
I
that
was like, Oh, this is the worst.
Why did she? Is that a thing? The dark side of
I don't
nature.
know.
Cannibal crab eats babies.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that. I mean, it's like rats and mice eating their young. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's like Kronos eating Zeus.
Whoa, dude. You're right.
Yeah.
She's straight up like one by one.
Yeah. She's just like, you know what? You are whining, and I'm gonna fucking end you.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Maybe she has cute aggression, and it's just overwhelming for her, and so she's actually eating her kids.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like, I'm gonna chew on your little toes, and she's just straight up, I'm gonna eat you.
Yeah, she's
Crunch it.
takes it literally.
Yeah, there's a couple that are like, no, Mom, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't. I had to actually stop watching because it made me upset because of the whole kids thing.
Dude, it is upsetting.
Yeah. All right. We've got about 5 minutes left, so I want to bust out with some listener stories because I don't want to forget. We got time for at least one. This one's kind of small. Hey, Jess and Bowser. My name is Mike. I, like Bowser, am from Maryland. This story comes from Germantown, MD. When the original Blair Witch Project came out, my friends and I were obsessed. Little side note, I went and saw the Blair Witch Project when it was in theaters, and it was so disorienting for me that once I got outside into the parking lot, I threw up all over.
I worked in a movie theater when Blair Witch
sick.
came out, and we had a lot of people
Yeah,
sick.
I was barfing. Not only was it spooky, but I was also intrigued. Not only was it spooky, but it showed some love to our home state. What's not to like? Insert shaky cam jokes here. Well, I went a little early and did mine earlier on. Some quick background of the first movie. Though it is set in Burkittsville, MD, it is most likely filmed in Seneca Creek State Park, which is maybe a 10-minute drive from where we lived at the time. The Blair Witch and the goings-on in the film are works of fiction, but locally it is still pretty rad. They have a tour once a year in the park around Halloween. A park ranger takes you around and shows you some of the filming locations and landmarks of the film while telling about how they made it. It is only $2. Best deal around. My wife and I did it this year, and it's awesome. This story, however, is from October of 2000 when Blair Witch 2 Book of Shadows came out. My group of friends and I went and saw it the night that it came out.
I'm so happy someone has finally said Blair Witch 2 Book of Shadows on this podcast, because I saw that movie with friends, and it's a source of comedy for us.
Oh.
We always quote it. We quote so many lines from Book of Shadows.
Oh,
Continue.
okay, thank you.
Just love that.
It was a midnight showing at the local theater. The movie was getting pretty negative reviews, but again, being from Maryland, we loved it. After getting out of the movie, we went back to a friend's house. He lived right next to Black Hills Regional Park in Germantown. We decided, being dumb kids in high school at the time, to go into the woods at roughly 2 a.m. And in the film, there is a Black Hills forest. We thought close enough. 4 of us went maybe 150 yards into the woods. 3 of us had flashlights, while the 4th friend, the most terrified of all, clutched at the back of friend number 3's shirt for dear life. Jokingly trying to scare our friend who was terrified, we all turned off our flashlights, and it was pitch black in the woods. Only the light of the moon shone faintly through the trees. We were chuckling for a second before we heard a horrifying sound. Laughter from what sounded as clear as day, several children playing right next to us. We all turned on our flashlights, and there was nothing. No one was around except for us. We ran as fast as we could through the woods and back to our buddy's neighborhood. We all had the same reaction when we caught our breath. What the fuck was that? To this day, I have no idea if somebody was playing a prank or if we experienced something truly paranormal. Thank you guys for being awesome. Love the podcast. Keep up the great work, and bye. I could have sworn, A, excellent listener story.
Yeah.
B, I could have sworn I saw a show a while back, and again, because we know how production works, I'm sure some of it was bullshit, but it seemed like some of it was actually kind of invested in a little bit of truth, where that the area of the Blair Witch Project in the woods was actually the location of a girl's disappearance. But in real life, though.
Maybe.
It wasn't connected to the Blair Witch Project, and they weren't saying she disappeared because of the a Blair Witch. It just happened to be the same area, but that it was this big mystery that the town had.
Interesting.
And, God, it was. I saw this years ago.
I mean, I know, being from the area, I know a fair amount about all the Blair Witch stuff, but I don't know anything about that.
I'll see if I can't track it down maybe on the nets.
I do remember that the sheriff in the movie says, "We found their bodies in the shape of a pentagram." That's what I used to always quote. But also, the director of Blair Witch 2 is the director of Hot Ted Bundy, starring Zac Efron.
Oh, really? Oh, right up your alley.
So you know it'll be good.
Yeah. I caught the sarcasm. All right, well, let me do another one. Hi, Justin Bowser. My name is Vanessa. A few days ago, I was just making sure because she had another
Right.
line. I'm like, wait, this doesn't say you can use it. Oh God, what's this? But she says, hope I'm in the chat. Hopefully you are. I don't know because our chat's not working. But a few days ago, there was a post about the shadow people focusing on the Hat Man. I wonder if this is an old one. When did this from?
Well, wait.
No, 2019.
Well, keep going.
It really shocked me because I saw him for many years and I didn't know other people have seen him. I saw him from ages 14 to 22 as a well-defined shadow standing at the entrance of my bedroom. I never felt scared about it, even though I'm a really easy to scare person. And once or twice I remembered saying to him, "Oh, you are here again," before falling asleep. My sister and my ex-boyfriend saw him a couple of times too in the same place, but they also didn't seem scared. I'm surprised because the article mentioned bad things that come with the Hat Man, but that was not the case for me. I did experience sleep paralysis and other shadow people yelling to me if I wanted to know how they died. But those are other stories, and the Hat Man was not there. I really like your show. Keep it going, Vanessa. I'm wondering if she listened to an old episode, but then this is a new letter.
Well, I talked kind of recently about
Oh, you did? I don't remember.
a girl I met through a friend at a party, and she told me she had seen a Hat Man her whole life, and that they hadn't told, and so did her sister, but they hadn't talked about it until they were in their mid-20s. They're like, "You saw the Hat Man? I've seen the Hat Man my whole life." So it could have been that. I think it was an episode you weren't here for.
Okay. I have heard of the Hat Man showing up to others before, and yes, that he's a bit of a, and we've talked about him, I think, before, and that he's a little bit of a harbinger of doom.
And it's kind, it's kind of shadow person, Hat Man, you know.
But it sounds like this guy is just chilling.
Yeah.
It sounds nice. Get a new friend.
Yeah.
All right, well, guys, that's it for this episode of Bizarre States. Hopefully you were interested in raining cats and frogs as much as we were. You know, I mean, I know it's not ghost stories, but it is bizarre.
It's bizarre.
It
Any
is
way
weird.
you cut it, it's bizarre.
Finding a humpback whale in the middle of the Amazon is not something I think one normally expects to find. For those of you interested in our Instagram, where I've been posting, you know, cute little memes and whatnot, you can follow us at Bizarre States. You can follow our Twitter at Bizarre_States. That's where we post kind of just weird news stories that we find floating around out there for your amusement. We have a Facebook page, facebook.com/Bizarre States, where you can find the notes and links to the articles that we found in regards to this show, as well as the Bizarre States Facebook group. You can join that to post your own crazy stuff. Try to keep it cool. There are rules. Check them out, please, because we've been having some issues lately. Email to bizarrestatespodcast@gmail.com if you want to share your listener story. Just let us know if you want to hear your name on the air. We're happy to keep it quiet if you don't. Next week, we have a special guest. That would be March 6th. Mallory O'Meara, who's been on the show before while I was out of town, is coming back. Again, I'll be out of town at South by Southwest that week, all the way up into the 14th. So if you see me, feel free to say hi. So I'm leaving you in good hands with Bowser and Mallory, and she's here to talk about her new book, The Lady from the Black Lagoon, Hollywood Monsters and the Lost Legacy of Millicent Patrick. Again, I'll be at South by Southwest, so come say hey, and we'll see you guys next time. Do you want to do your outro?
I do, but I need to call this out really quickly.
Oh.
I was called out on the Facebook group this week.
For what?
For being grammatically incorrect every time I do the NPR sign-off.
What's your NPR?
And I chimed in and actually said, I kind of agree. I agree with you, dude. It is incorrect, but this is the word trap I get in every time, and I'll explain. This has been Jessica Chobot and Andrew Bowser reminding you all, aren't we just living in a bizarre state? Is that what I normally say?
Yeah, I think so.
So it's that I'm saying reminding you, but then I ask a question. Aren't we all? You know what I mean?
Reminding you.
Like it should
Can't
be.
you just remind somebody of the question?
I mean, I guess, but I think that's the hiccup. Unless I were to say, this has been Jessica Chobot and Andrew Bowser reminding you, we are all living in a bizarre state.
Oh shit, that does sound better.
Right. That's the more Rod Serling way. So to correct it.
But should we keep it fucked up?
We might
for
as
the
well
sake?
try one that's correct.
All right, let's do
so
one.
So there's one
How
correct
about
on record.
This is what we're gonna do.
And
we're gonna do this correctly.
Yeah.
Assuming that this is correct. We're gonna do this correctly. I'm gonna put a post up on our Twitter
of which one people want.
Of which one people prefer. OG outro versus correct outro.
Yeah.
And you guys can vote. And then from this moment on, we'll do it however you want to do it. Because I think it's kind of ridiculously charming and much in the vein of our podcast to do it incorrectly.
Sure.
But I also really enjoy correct grammar. So I'm a little torn.
So I think this would be more proper. We'll do it this way this week.
I'm pretty sure more proper is not the more
I know,
proper
that's
way
the
to
other
say
thing is,
that.
I think there's other grammatically incorrect things in that statement that the guy was calling me out on. But I get tripped up on the aren't we all and that being a thing. Anyway.
Okay.
This has been Jessica Chobot and Andrew Bowser reminding you we are all living in a bizarre state.
Bye.
Bye.